We have a major breaking update on the culture war front. CT transgender athlete policy violates Title IX, according to the Education Department. The U.S. Education Department found that Connecticut's policy to allow transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports violates Title IX. This is huge. You may not be familiar with this story, but there's a lawsuit from several young females they run track, and they have to compete against males. The males identify as female. But as the story goes, at least, up until the previous reporting, these males weren't undergoing any kind of medical transition in any capacity. They're just males who say they identify as female. Well, according to the Department of Education, that is a violation of their civil rights. And we now have a response from the athletics organization, the sports governing body in Connecticut, saying they're defending the policy. I don't know what this means. They could lose federal funding over this. They now have a federal guidance. This may aid these young females in their lawsuit. Let's read the story. Patch reports a Connecticut policy that allows transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports. Now, I got to stop there because they're not being clear enough. A Connecticut policy that allows transgender athletes to compete, my understanding is any division. That means if someone is born female, they could choose to compete in male athletics. The issue is they don't, because typically they can't. Men and women are biologically different. However, in some circumstances, like with the issue of Mac Beggs, who is biologically female but is transitioning via hormones to male, this person does compete against males in wrestling. So let's read more. The ruling, which was obtained Thursday by the Associated Press, comes in response to a complaint filed last year by several female track athletes who argued that two transgender runners who identified as male at birth had an unfair physical advantage. The office said in a 45-page letter that it may seek to withhold federal funding over the policy, which allows transgender athletes to participate as the gender with which they identify. It said the policy is a violation of Title IX, the federal civil rights law that guarantees equal education opportunities for women, including in athletics. It has, quote, denied female student athletes athletic benefits and opportunities, including advancing to the finals in events, higher level competitions, awards, medals, recognition, and the possibility of greater visibility to colleges and other benefits. The Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference, which oversees scholastic sports in the state, has said its policy is designed to comply with the state's law, barring schools from discriminating against transgender students. A call seeking comment was left Thursday with CIAC. Woo, this is spicy. Check it out. The schools are like, the state is mandating we do this, otherwise it's a violation of civil rights law. And now the federal government is saying, well, y'all are violating civil rights law, so you're going to have to pick one. Seems like the schools are between a rock and a hard place. Ultimately, though, I think federal law will supersede the state. But let's read some more on the story. Attorneys for the Alliance Defending Freedom, who represent the girls who brought the complaint, said they would have a comment later on Thursday. The Office for Civil Rights ruling names the CIAC and school districts, the transgender runners and those filing the complaint competed, Gladsbury, Bloomford, or whatever. Okay, so there we go. The office said it will, quote, either initiate administrative proceedings to suspend, terminate, or refuse to grant or continue and defer financial assistance to the CIAC and those districts, or refer the cases to the U.S. Department of Justice. Whoa, getting spicy on us, huh? In its letter, the Office for Civil Rights said it notified the CIAC and the school districts of its pending decision in February, but that subsequent negotiations failed to result in an agreement over the policy. The dispute, which is already the subject of a federal lawsuit, centers on two transgender sprinters, Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood, who have frequently outperformed their competitors, winning a combined 15 girls' state indoor or outdoor championship races since 2017, according to the lawsuit. Lawyers for the transgender athletes have argued that both are undergoing hormone treatments that have put them on an equal footing with the girls they are competing against. Full stop. Not true. Now, it may be true they're on hormone therapy, okay? Because the last time I covered the story, they weren't. But let me just tell you something, man. Prenatal testosterone plays a role in the development of fast twitch and slow twitch muscles. I'm not a biologist, but this is a generally understood thing in sports. That means when you are developing in the womb, the amount of the prenatal testosterone you're exposed to changes your body's development, regardless of whether or not you are changing later on after puberty. More importantly, you have to point out that even if they're on hormone therapy, they've benefited from their entire lives of male puberty, so they have these advantages. I'll give you a real world example so you can understand this. Recently in skateboarding, and I brought this up because I love skateboarding and this is part of, my culture. An 11-year-old boy made history recently by performing a 1080-degree spin on a standard-sized half pipe. It was, I believe, 1999 when Tony Hawk, one of the most famous skateboarder in the world, landed a 900-degree turn. It was groundbreaking when he did. And it's taken it's taken 20 years for that to be broken. Now by an 11-year-old boy who added another rotation to 1080. We don't see this among little girls. I mean this with no disrespect. I mean this with all due respect. The skill level of female skaters is definitely going up, and we're seeing some truly impressive moves from young women. But recently, the videos we've seen from younger girls around the same age are getting closer to doing limited spins and nowhere near as good as setting historical records in the sport. The first 1080 ever performed was on a mega ramp, so people don't view it as the same. And it was done by, I believe, a 10-year-old boy. I think it was Mitchie Brusco. I'm not entirely sure. We're just not seeing the same level of competitiveness even before puberty. And I mean this with all due respect. In no way do I think anyone should be discriminating against anyone, and therein lies the big problem. I'm not saying that these biological males should be removed because it's in favor of discrimination. No, I think we need to avoid discrimination. There are females who are being deprived of opportunities. That's a serious issue. The way they're viewing Title IX, it would seem, is that there are great benefits given to people who perform really, really well in athletics in colleges. Women should be granted the same opportunity as men, males and females. But when we recognize that males and females have different bodies, then you have to place them in separate divisions because they'll perform differently. Because of the new state laws that are passing, they're putting males in the female division, thus taking away the opportunities of females. I'm not talking about your argument about what a man is or a woman is. I'm talking about male and female. And that's just it. It doesn't matter what you identify as. It matters what you biologically are and how that changes things. You can argue that there are some males that do better or worse than females. Not the point. Make a new division. Maybe they need a transgender athlete division. And maybe that will afford these individuals new opportunities and more opportunities. And therein lies the bigger solution. You can't take away someone else's opportunities. You discriminate against them. Let's read a little bit more. They say the plaintiffs sought to block the participation of Miller and Yearwood, both seniors, from spring track meets, which were later canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They were also seeking to erase all records set by the transgender athletes. I think the easiest way to put it is transgender female is not the same thing as biological female. We know that that's true. Ask anybody and you'll say, biological female, you get it? Okay. Transgender female, you get it? Okay. Maybe those need to be separated. And we need the same thing for transgender males or whatever, or however you describe it. Maybe we need 4 divisions. Or maybe you have transgender females and transgender males compete against each other because that kind of evens the playing field for both of them. But it's not fair to one class, one identity group, to take away things they've fought for to try and help a different identity group. It just doesn't make sense. Connecticut is one of 18 states, along with Washington, D.C., that allows transgender high school athletes to compete without restrictions, according to transathlete.com, which tracks state policies in high school sports across the country. Several other states have policies barring the participation of transgender athletes, and Idaho recently became the first state to pass a law banning transgender women from competing in women's sports. The American Civil Liberties Union and Legal Voice filed a federal lawsuit contending that law violates the U.S. Constitution because it is discriminatory and an invasion of privacy. Now, there's some decent arguments there in the invasion of privacy argument, but it's not discriminatory, especially based on the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which states you can't discriminate on the basis of sex. If we are talking about, it says the basis of sex. Okay, we're not talking about identity. You want to add identity, we can have a conversation. It says on the basis of sex. That means these runners who are biologically male, by creating a division where any male can enter any division, you are now taking away the opportunities of females. Therefore, you're violating the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Of course, the response from the sports governing body is in defense. I'm not going to read you their response because it's really just a waste of words. But they say, following the ruling, the governing body of state scholastic athletes has issued a response defending its long-standing statute. This is going to get interesting, but I think Connecticut is going to lose this one. And I think this may be a dramatic change to how these rules are being enacted. Dare I say, those who advocated for biological males to compete against biological females, I think they're going to lose this one. I think they already have. Connecticut is just the first domino to fall. The lawsuit will likely move forward now with a lot of support from the federal government. The state may have no choice. Now, it's possible Connecticut under state law says, nope, this is the law, you lose. And if they appeal and they keep taking it up to the Supreme Court, then we get a nationwide ruling on this. And I think it's going to favor these young females and not the transgender athletes. I mean none of this in any disrespect to any communities. I'm only seeking to minimize the discrimination. That's my opinion. In which case, we're going to have to talk it out. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel, and I'll see you all then.